Hello, my creative friends. It's been a little while since I've posted a video, and there are a few reasons for that. Firstly, I was on a book deadline. I had to get my book to the publisher, and when that happens, it is all attention on that and nothing else. So that was the first thing. But then, whilst all that was going on, I decided to have a little bit of reflection around what I was doing with my art and the different platforms that I shared it on, and also started to contemplate whether or not it was time for a little bit of a change. And that links straight into the topic of today's video, which is about why an artist name is a good idea for quite a lot of people. Perhaps not absolutely everybody. Maybe not everybody needs it, but if you're the kind of person who perhaps struggles a little bit with the confidence in your art, or maybe feels averse to taking risks in your art, then developing an artist name might be a really wonderful way to solve that problem. I'll talk to you a little bit about my story in the hopes of illustrating what I mean by this. So, my birth name, as many of you know, is Helen Cox, and I'm an author from the UK who also dabbles in a bit of art. And I've been using my birth name or variations of it as my pen name and artistic name for a few years now. It's only recently when I decided to pick a sort of nom de plume for my artworks that I started to notice a big difference in the way I approached the blank page. Helen Cox was told many years ago by people who meant very well that she couldn't be an artist because there was no money in it. And frankly, probably wouldn't be as good as everybody else at it, so why even bother? I heard this from teachers, I heard it from family members, and it was an understandable thing to tell me at the time because they were all concerned about me not being able to pay bills and generally finding it difficult to survive in a world where the internet hadn't even come along yet. So I do understand why it was said. Unfortunately, little Helen internalized those words very deeply. And as a result, every single time I started a piece of artwork, it was just a bit of a battle. I had to overcome all of these little demons in my head that were telling me that there was no point doing art and I wasn't going to be any good at it and it was a waste of time. Fundamentally, I was trying to overcome the idea that I could not be an artist. And that was a lot of baggage to bring to every single blank sketchbook page or journal page that I came to. Helena Bird, however, which is my new artist name, she was never told that she couldn't be an artist. And as such, when I think of myself as Helena Bird, I don't have all that baggage. I come to the page and I just try things. If it doesn't work out, it's fine because it's just an experiment and there doesn't need to be any recriminations or there doesn't need to be any told you so's. I knew all along that I wasn't going to be an artist. Just because one piece doesn't work out how you think it's going to work out in your head. And I think most artists would probably agree with me that the vision you have for something in your head when you start out almost is never what you end up with on the page. You just have a completely different vision of it in your head, usually than the end result. Doesn't mean that the end result is bad, just different. So Helena Bird, whose name comes from the wonderful explorer Isabella Bird, who hails from Yorkshire like I do. She was a lady who went around the world in the 19th century on her own and wrote letters and books about all her adventures. I've always admired her tenacious spirit, and if you've never read A Lady's Life in the Rocky Mountains, which is a book that comprises of the letters she wrote to her sisters while she was in the Rocky Mountains, well, I really recommend that volume. It's a really wonderful exploration of the human spirit and how many challenges there were to overcome at that particular time in that particular place. So that's where the inspiration for the name comes from. It comes from somebody who really has inspired me over the years. And Helena Bird, this new entity that I've brought into my life, has completely freed me from all of the mind talk, if you want to call it that, the things that my mind was telling me whenever I put pen or pencil to paper. When I was a child, I could just create, and it never dawned on me that there was anything difficult about that. But as soon as the words of other people started creeping into my life, as soon as they started to tell me that this was not a worthwhile pursuit, that it would never lead to anything, that I could never be an artist, all of a sudden, creating art became this incredibly difficult thing. And now that I've taken on this new identity, whenever I go into my art space, now that whenever I go into that study, I think of myself as Helena Bird and not Helen Cox, it's really strange how a complete transformation overcomes me. And I'm being so much more bold about what I'm doing. Even this little painting that I'm doing in the video, it's not exactly going to be, heralded as the next great Picasso work, is it? It's just a few daffodils in watercolour with some details put in with pens. But I'll tell you right now, a year ago, I wouldn't have dared try and create flowers in watercolour. I would have been too scared about how bad they would look at the end. And, I'm not going to pretend like it's a perfect painting when I finished it. I do put some finishing touches to it after the video ends, and you can see those in the screenshot for this video that I, decided to make the background more watercolour because those are water-soluble pencils. But, little things like that. But still didn't make it perfect. It just made it something that I was quite proud to say I'd created. And that's really all I'm going for here. So if you are somebody who struggles, as I did for many, many years, with this idea that I can't be an artist, or that I'm no good at art, or it's never going to amount to anything, or maybe, like me, you were told by well-meaning people that you simply couldn't do art, it just wasn't a worthwhile pursuit, I do recommend thinking about whether or not it might be different for you if you developed an artist name. This is not going to be for everybody, I understand that. But even if it's just for your own notebooks, even if you only have a name that you use in your own journals, that is an alternate name that you recognise as your artist name, even if you never share your work of art with anybody else, maybe it would be a freeing process to think of yourself under another alias. It's also a little bit of fun as well to make up this artist name and think about what you would choose and how it might liberate you from some of the things you've been telling yourself and some of the things that people have said to you over the time that you have been yourself. I think more than anything, what adopting the name Helena Bird has done for me is it's helped me to understand and embrace outsider art and the outsider art that specifically I am creating. I actually don't want Helena Bird's output to be perfect. I don't want it to be some incredibly polished thing that is only really designed for sharing on social media and making other people jealous of my skills. That's not my intention. I actually just want to create something that reflects the world around me as I see it. By that I mean as only I can see it. So nobody else could make the same art as me, even if it's bad. That's okay, because it's individual and it's unique. So Helena Bird, that name, has helped me lean into all of this, to stop worrying about creating some perfect, untouchable masterpiece on the page that I feel would be worthy of sharing on social media. And instead, just thinking about the things that I see in my daily life and how I would represent them, or how I will represent them on the page when I open my journal or my sketchbook. Because that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to record my experience in a way that is meaningful to me and hopefully meaningful to some other people who might see it. So in the spirit of fully embracing Helena Bird and that identity in my artistic life, I have changed the name of this YouTube channel to Helena Bird. And I have also set up a new Substack publication in which I share a digital postcard every Monday. There's an image. It's often going to be a piece of art. On occasion, it may be a piece of photography, and some words of either interest or inspiration to go with it. On the fourth week of every month, I will do a little video that's exclusive to the Substack publication and share some pages from inside my journal. If this is of interest to you, I will leave the link below. The first postcard goes out tomorrow on Monday, the 31st of March, 2025. If you found this video long after that, then you can still subscribe below. And for those who join, they will get a little welcome email that just says thank you for joining and explains about the postcards and what you'll receive. I really hope this idea is something that you all contemplate. An artist's name might not be for everyone, but if it even seems a little bit tantalizing for you, I recommend you to keep ruminating on the subject. Choosing a completely different name for yourself might seem a bit weird. I guess it did to me when it first occurred to me that might be a good idea, and that's someone who has written under pen names for my fiction career. It still seemed a bit strange to me that I might choose a completely different name just, in order to make art. But ultimately, it was the right choice for me, and I can't help but wonder if it might be the right choice for you too. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd be really interested to know if anybody else has done this or anybody else is thinking about it. There'll be another video soon. Until then, take care and happy creating.